Canva released a brand new update where you can create forms right inside Canva, send them out and collect data from that. This is revolutionary to what Canva can do and means that we can add forms to your Canva websites, means that you could embed forms into your own websites if you don't want to use a different form maker. And it's just a really fun thing to be able to do inside Canva. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create a form, some really important things to know about the sizing of it and all the different sorts of features you can use within that form. I'm also going to show you how to collect the data and how to embed it onto your particular website or inside your Canva website. So let's dive in. So hello, if we have not met before, my name is Jacqui and I am a graphic designer who is obsessed with helping everyday business owners just like you design great graphics inside platforms like Canva. Because when you have great graphics, your business will sell more successfully and you'll have more confidence as you show up. And so as I mentioned, Canva has a brand new feature and I'm looking forward to stepping you through it. Now, if you have missed it, Canva released a whole batch of new updates. So many updates. And I chatted about them in last week's video. So I will link that here and make sure you go back and watch it because there are some really great things. It's important that you know as a business owner to utilize Canva more effectively for your business and make sure you're not missing any of the cool new things that it can do. So let's open up our form. To do this, I recommend opening a new Canva document, or if you already have a Canva website that you've built right inside Canva that you want to put the form into, you're welcome to open up that instead. I'm going to be showing you how to embed it into my own website, but pretty much the steps are identical and you would just open up a website you already have that exists. If you want to share this with someone not via a website, you can also just share the link to whatever design you create today. And so what I'm going to show you today will work for pretty much every single option. So what I want you to do is open up a website. No matter where you're going to end up putting it, a website is what I found will work best. And that's because you can resize it however needed. So the way that you do that is you open up your Canva and you click on website. If you can't see website here, you can have a look along the side panel down the left-hand side. Pretty much anywhere that you can press to create a website, that's what you want to do. And you just want to create a plain website. You don't need to worry about any templates. At this point, for at least the form side of things, you just want to go in and create that website. So a website in Canva is pretty much a design that you can resize to whatever size that you would like, which is why it's going to be useful for this form. Now, to give you a bit of an idea of what we're going to build, all the things that are possible, I want to take you to a form that I have previously built. So this is a form on my Canva workshop shortcut. I kind of doing a workshop and pretty much I wanted to collect some data from people who were attending. So I created this form and I embedded it into my website. And you can see in here, people can type in their name, they can select options, they can select multi-options, they can write long form answers as needed, and they can go through and answer as many questions as my heart desires. And so this is a really kind of robust form. There are a couple limitations I will speak to, but that's pretty much what you can do. And so to do that, you can see this is quite long, which is why I love building inside a website because you can make it as tall or as short as you like. If I just zoom out a little bit here, you can see this little rectangular handle at the bottom of this page. This means I can drag it to be as long or as short as I like. So I'm going to make this a little bit longer because the form I'm going to make is going to be a bit longer. And so you can edit this as many times as you need. You can keep on expanding this as you go, as you create your form. So to insert your form, all you need to do is go to Elements, which has had a bit of a makeover recently, and you need to find the form category. So if I zoom in here, you can see our different options here, and I'm going to click on Forms. And we'll bring up a ton of different form templates. And so you've got other, you've got feedback forms, you've got event forms, education forms, and business forms. I'm going to click on business forms for now because that's most aligned with what I want to do. And pretty much you want to choose a form that just has either a similar look to what you want or similar content. But it's very easy to change both the look and the content. So don't feel like you're picking something and you have to stick with that. For now, I'm just going to click on the subscribe to our newsletter form because I wanted to remind you that you can do simple forms just like this inside Canva. So for me, I'm going to do like a bit of an intake form, but you could also use this as a bit of an opt-in. So an opt-in is where you might collect people's email addresses and then send them maybe a freebie as a thank you. So you could actually collect data using this kind of form. This is particularly helpful if you've been using a Canva website and you've had no way to collect data. This is really helpful. So you can see here, I've now inserted this form, and updating things is quite straightforward. You can see I've got my colors here. So if I click on this, it will allow me to change the color of the background. So I can click on that, maybe change this to being a light purple for the button, maybe a darker purple for the background, or I could even change it to a lighter color and maybe make my button a bit darker. There are so many options here, although not too many options. You can't go through and change every piece of text color. You can't go through and change every different button color. You can just make overarching changes, which also makes it easier not to stuff up and make kind of too complicated. And so you can see I've changed the colors there of things. You could also add a gradient into the background if you liked by clicking on the color of the background and changing that to a gradient just by hovering over the coloring, toggling from solid color to gradient, and choosing whatever colors you would like to do here. I won't go into that now because it's a whole other tutorial, but you can see that you can do a few different cool things there should you desire. So once you're happy with the coloring, you can also change the text. So when I'm selected on here, you can see it's currently on the youngest serif as the font. If I click on this, it will open up my font panel. I'm going to go down here and select my font of Poppins, and that's going to change every appearance of font in this whole design to that one font. Again, you can't change individual headings and stuff, which also makes it easier not to overcomplicate. You can also change the color of the font. You can see I can change that to maybe a dark purple, or I might change that to a dark green. You want to make sure that your button text is always visible. Let's go something like that for now. It's not perfect, but you get the picture. And you can also edit the bolding, the italicizing, or the text size. So if I was to make this smaller, it kind of just generally makes everything that little bit smaller, or I could make it that little bit larger. When you're making things smaller or larger, just make sure that you check it on its final output. For example, if you were embedding this into a mobile, you'd want to make sure that it is still viewable on mobile and viewable on desktop. For me, if going on a website, I need it to be good on mobile and desktop. So that's a pretty good size for me. We can also adjust the sizing of the actual form. So I can make this taller by dragging it out. I could also make it wider by dragging it across. And I can make it narrow again as I need to. So you can have a little bit of control there, but like you can see, I'm trying to drag it in even tighter and it's not letting me, so that it will give you kind of limitations there to make sure that you don't squish your design too much. But that's a good start. Now what I want to do is start to add in some questions, because for me today, I'm not going to do a subscriber opt-in. I'm going to do something a bit more complex. And so to edit your settings of your form even more, you want to make sure that your form is selected. And when you see this little bar up the top, this is your form settings. You can then toggle onto edit to create some options. And so when you do that, you can see we've got two tabs here. We've got questions and we've got settings. The settings tab is where you can edit things like the header. So I could change this to fill me out, and I can choose if I want to show this header or not. You might choose to not have this shown at all. And you can see when I do that, it kind of brings the email address size to being the biggest text, and I could again make that smaller if I needed to. I'm going to leave that header there because I do want that there. And you can also change the button. So if I wanted this to just be submit, I could change that to be whatever text I like. And you can also select if you want to collect response names. So this isn't necessarily having names as a part in here. It's more where Canva asks the person to log into Canva and kind of collect more verified data. I personally don't see the need for this in anything that I've been doing, but just so you know, that option's there. So for me as a default, I'm going to be turning my do not collect names as the responses privacy setting. This is a pro feature as well. Now, noting again, you can add in a name box into here, so make sure you add that in if you do still want to collect names. And so to do that and to fiddle with the different questions that appear, you can toggle over to the questions tab and you can see all the different options we have here. I've got the email one that was already here and all the other options. So we've got short answer, long answer, multiple choice and checkbox. Please note that multiple choice is referring to having multiple options, but you can only make one choice out of those. And checkbox means that you can have multiple selections within that. To show you examples of these, I'm going to go to the form I've already built. And you can see here that this one here is a checkbox option and I can select more than one answer. This one here though is the multiple choice one where I can just select one. I can't select that I'm just starting out and that I've been in business 3 to 5 years. It only lets me select one, whereas a checkbox lets you select multiple options. So that's checkbox, and multiple choice lets you only select one. I feel like the names are a bit confusing, so I wanted to make sure to clarify that. Next, you've got your email, entering a number, having a poll. This is more where you've got a quiz, where that's only one answer, multiple choice quiz, a mood meter, a linear scale, and a star rating. And so if you want to edit a question that already exists, you can just toggle over the image here and you can change it if you want it to be a different kind of question. I'm going to leave it as email, or I might even change it to just a short answer because I want it to be something where I'm collecting their name. And then if I want to add a new question in, I can just press add question. So say I put in here age, and they can type in their age. Maybe next up I might want a multiple choice, so I can write that here. So you type in your question in this top box, and then I can type in here your different options. So I might write in here pink, replace this, write in green. If I want to add in a new option, I can either click on this add option button, or I can press enter on my keyboard and it will bring in a new space for me, which is helpful if you're going to do a lot of options quite quickly. Then once you're happy, you can just jump out of that and it will be all finished. Or if you wanted to change what this is going to be later on, maybe you decide, you know what, I meant to do a checkbox here. You can select and change that here to being the new option. And you can see that it's kept all of my different boxes here. So I can add in as many different parts as I would like to here. Let's add in a mood meter as well. And you can see now that it's starting to build my form. I can enter in my name, my age, I can multiple choice, choose my favorite colors, and I can submit my feeling. Now, one limitation I have found with this is that if you want to add in an other option, so say for example, you want people to be able to enter an other option. Usually if you were in a normal form builder, if you selected other, it would come up with a little box for you to type in what your other is. That's not an option at the time of recording for this, so you just have to leave it as other. You can also move your questions around. You can move this up if you wanted to, or down. You can duplicate questions, delete questions, or if you need to, you can also click on the question in general and move it up or down. And you can also choose if you want it to be a required question. Required questions mean that people cannot press submit unless they've filled out that question. So make sure you're only doing that for questions where you're like, I need to know the answer to this, or other questions you might choose to make them optional. One other option I wanted to add in is to let you know that if you wanted to add in any extra text into here, there's not an option to add in sections at this point or anything like that, like you might be used to with Google Forms. So the way that I've found a workaround is, say for example, I wanted to do a section called your favorites. If I click on maybe the what's your favorite color question, I might type in here and might write your favorites, just in all caps. And then if I press Shift Enter, it's going to bring this onto another line, and I might choose to just display it like this, where it's got a bit of a heading and the question underneath. Now, the way that I had to do that was pressing Shift Enter. If you were just to press Enter, it would just move you on to the next text box. You can see me moving down here as I press Enter. So making sure that if you want to make spaces between lines in a particular question, you're holding down Shift and then pressing Enter. And that's kind of a nice way to create some space and sections within your form if you need that. And so once you're happy with your form, again, you can make it shorter or taller as you kind of need to, but I can't make it any shorter than that, but I can make it wider if I do want those form sections to be larger. And then what I'm going to do is to fill in the space of this website box. Now, if you're embedding this into a Canva website, you can just display this and arrange this on the page as you need to. But for me, as embedding this into my website, I'm going to make this fill the size of the page. Next up, we need to arrange this form within our space. So you can make the form larger or smaller by dragging it up or down, and you can see that it's going larger or smaller. You can also drag it out as needed. What I'm going to suggest at this point is filling in this form to be the entire size of our website. Now, this is not relevant if you are embedding a form into your own Canva website. If you've made your website on Canva, just display this form and put it wherever you want to on there, and you're pretty much done. I still need to get to talking about responses, so I'll do that after this. But then if you're going to embed your form onto your own website, which is what I'm going to show you how to do, then you want to make sure that this is kind of filling in the whole space of the design. So I'm going to drag this up into the top left-hand corner of my space. I'm going to grab this and make it longer because you can see that I've got quite a lot of space over here. So I want to make this longer so I can make the design a little bit larger. I could make it wider, but then I feel like it would have too much space. So that's not really going to be helpful for us. I'm going to drag this to be larger. It needs to be quite a lot larger. So I'm going to keep dragging it out. You can always zoom out of your design if you want to be able to do this a little bit quicker by holding on the zoom toggle down here. Now, something really important I need to share with you at this point. So once I make this large, I actually want to create some space at the bottom here, because when you view your form, what's going to happen is that there's a little bit of a border down the bottom. I don't know why Canva's done this, and I hope they'll fix it eventually, but if I click and hover on this form, you can see this little button here, this little gradient. That's going to appear on your design. And what that means is, especially if your design is on mobile, that the submit button actually gets covered by this kind of gradient and this kind of enlarge button and these kind of options and toggles here it gives your audience, which isn't ideal. I had some people not be able to fill out a form in my first iteration of this. So what I've done is I've created extra space at the bottom to make sure that doesn't happen. It's not the most beautiful thing, but it's far more important to have usability. And so in your design, I want you to drag it out to the edges, but then once you're at the bottom, create a lot more space. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drag this down even more so, and just have that white space. If your background of your website is a different color, feel free to make the background of this whatever color that is. So say, for example, on here, if this color was purple, I might make this background color purple just to make sure that that was more seamless. But for me, white is totally perfect. And now the last step to get this onto my website before I chat to you about collecting the data from these is to press share. And then if this was your Canva website, you would just publish the website as is, or you might even choose just to publish this just as is as well. That's totally an option. You can go to website here and you can publish that. You might choose to just send this link to a friend, and you might just choose to use the public view link. But my personal preference is pressing see all and pressing on embed. When you click on embed, this is going to give you a code you can input into your website so that you can put this anywhere on your site. So if I press embed, it's going to give me two options. The first is a HTML code option. This is going to be the most likely to work on your website. However, if you have a supported platform, so click on this and see if whatever website builder you have is supported, then you can actually just use this smart embed link. I haven't tested this, but I have a feeling it's going to update. Whereas for me, every time I've done an update on the form, I've just had to update the embed code. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's what's been working for me so far. So just make sure you're happy with your form before you do this, or just make sure you update the HTML if you do update it. But for me, it's quite easy to do this. So I'm going to press copy of this HTML code. I'm going to go to my page builder. I personally use Kartra, and I'm going to add in a code block. So whatever your website builder is, there's usually an option to add in some HTML or coding. So I'm going to drag in, I'm going to click on this and drag in a code block into my specific area. I'm going to edit that. No, that's not what I need to do. Yep. And I'm going to just paste in my code. For me, it's asking me to make sure I leave this current coding that's there and paste my new code in between. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press paste. And you can see this code here that I have highlighted here. That's the code that Canva gave me. And that's the code that is going to embed the form onto my website. So I'm going to press save. You can see after this loads, it's going to display your little form inside your website. So you would update this, save it, and export it out. And that's when it kind of displays exactly like I had it right here. But please make sure you followed everything I've shared with you so far to make sure this works correctly. And please always, always, always test this. Test it on a desktop and test it on a mobile to make sure it works seamlessly and there's no kind of buttons that are hiding or things that are out of reach or don't act correctly on your form. Now, once you've shared this form out with the world, whether it's on your Canva website or whether it's on your embedded website or whether it's just sharing the link with someone, you want to be able to collect the data. And Canva does this automatically, which is fabulous. So if I go to a form I've already got out in the world and I click on this form, you can see this section called responses. Responses is where I can view the responses. So if I click on this, you can see it's starting to bring up my data. I've blurred it out so that you don't see it. And you can see kind of a bit of a summary of the responses here. You can also choose to blow that up by pressing view responses, or my personal preference is pressing open in linked sheet. So Canva is going to create a sheet for you of the responses that you've had. So Canva now, if you've missed it, has kind of like a Google Sheets or an Excel spreadsheet kind of vibe. And so if you press open linked sheet, it's going to open up a full spreadsheet of all of your responses so that you can go through that piece of data and see everything really clearly. So you can see here, I can see all of my responses. I have the name section I asked for. This anonymous section is because I didn't ask Canva to collect the verified names. You can see all the different things they've selected. So I can have their one choice selections. You can see their multiple choice selections where they've listed out more than one object. And everything's kind of here ready for me to digest this data. I might choose to pop this into ChatGPT and ask it to make a summary of the data. I might just choose to read through this myself, or I might choose to connect this with something like Zapier or another automation system to potentially a CRM where I can connect those. So for example, if this was going to be like an email opt-in system, I might choose to have someone enter in their email address in here, then use an automation system like Zapier to connect that to my CRM like Kartra so that I can have all of those different programs speaking together, and that might automatically send out an email to the person who entered in their email address. But that's getting a bit techie. If that overwhelms you, ignore that. You can do whatever system works best for you, but I wanted to mention that that might be a possibility if you would like to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of that. Now, a key thing to mention here is the data and its updating capabilities. So if someone was to fill in this form right now and I wanted to get that updated response, what I would need to do is click on this data option here, and you see this refresh data. If I click on refresh data, it's going to search for any new information. And I think would actually add the latest responses to the top of this design, because I actually was the first person to fill this out. And I can see that I am at the bottom here. And so that is how you can create your very own form right inside Canva. I hope you found that useful. Make sure you explore it. I would love to know in the comments what kind of form you're going to start out creating, or what kind of forms you're dreaming of creating. And if you're feeling like, Jacqui, this is really great, but I don't have a full brand to apply my branding colors on my fonts, or it's really great, but when I create graphics for social media, it kind of sucks still. What I'd love to do is invite you to come with me to my free masterclass. It's called Design Tools to 100K. And in there, I'm breaking down things like Canva and design to make sure that you can do both of them and use both of them strategically to grow your business rather than feeling like it's holding you back. I'm going to teach you through some really important design mistakes you're probably making, that it's making your designs look amateur and not professional. I'm going to take you through some Canva shortcuts that are going to help to save you hours in the long run as you're using Canva. Plus, I'm going to take you through designing a graphic together so you can see how a professional designer uses really strategic design principles to communicate clearly. So we're going to design a social media graphic. I'm also going to give you a template on how to do it for yourself. So I hope you would like to join me there. There will be a link in in the description or on the screen right now. And you can come along, watch that for free, and really amplify your business through the power of design, because that's what it's all about. If you're just using Canva for fun, amazing. But I want to teach you how to use Canva to grow your business rather than feeling like it's holding you back. So thanks for joining me for this episode. If you want to make sure to catch all of the new Canva updates, make sure you hit subscribe, because I'm going to be going over a lot of those updates in the coming videos, and I would love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next week for another video. Bye.